In the quiet archives of personal history, long before the digital age made correspondence instantaneous and impersonal, there exists a shoebox, or perhaps it was a hat box, or a simple wooden crate. The container itself is lost to time, but its contents are the key. Inside, nestled together, were hundreds of photographs, crisp black and white portraits of young men in uniform, their faces a mixture of bravado and boyhood innocence. They were strangers, scattered across the Pacific in European theaters of a world at war. They had one thing in common. They had all written a letter, often on flimsy airmail stationery, to a young actress whose picture they'd seen in a magazine. Her name was Donna Belle Mullenger, from Denison, Iowa. The world would soon know her as Donna Reed. And she wrote back to nearly every single one. This wasn't a studio-mandated publicity stunt. This was a private, deeply personal mission she had assigned herself. She would track their movements, worry about their safety, and keep their letters and photographs as a sacred trust. She wasn't Donna Reed, the movie star, to them. She was a tangible link to the world they had promised to return to, a world of porch swings, hometown diners, and quiet kindness. It is in that quiet, almost monastic act of devotion, the patient answering of letters from lonely soldiers, that the entire blueprint of her future life can be found. It reveals a woman who valued connection over celebrity, substance over style, and it foretells the kind of home she would one day build, not a palace to display her fame, but a fortress to protect her soul. This is the story of that fortress, the story of the final cherished home of the woman who became America's professional embodiment of grace, and what its silent brick walls can tell us about the complex, passionate, and fiercely private person who lived within them for over 30 years. Donna Reed was born on January 27th in 1921 on a farm near Denison, Iowa. She was the daughter of Hazel Jane, née Chives, and William Richard Mullenger, and was the eldest of 5 children. Her world wasn't one of Klieg lights and red carpets. It was a world of chores at dawn, the smell of turned earth, and the unyielding logic of the seasons. She was, by all accounts, a quintessential farm girl, practical, resourceful, and completely without pretension. She learned to drive a tractor before she learned to drive a car. She understood the value of a hard day's work and the binding strength of a close-knit family. This upbringing forged in her a character of profound resilience, a sort of moral bedrock that Hollywood, for all its power, could never fully erode. When she was voted campus queen at Los Angeles City College, the trajectory of her life shifted irrevocably. Scouts from every major studio came calling. She signed with Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, the titan of the studio system. It was an institution famous for manufacturing goddesses from mortal clay. They plucked her from obscurity, changed her name to the smoother, more elegant Donna Reed, capped her teeth, and immediately began grooming her for stardom. But they soon discovered that while you could take the girl out of Iowa, you couldn't take Iowa out of the girl. There was an incorruptible wholesomeness about her, a quiet dignity that resisted the studio's attempts to mold her into just another glamorous siren. She exuded a fundamental decency that translated powerfully onto the screen. She became the perfect girl next door, the devoted wartime sweetheart, the loving wife. Her career was a steady climb, marked by memorable roles in films like The Picture of Dorian Gray and The Human Comedy. The pinnacle of her early film career arrived in 1953. In Fred Zinnemann's From Here to Eternity, she was cast against type as Alma Lorene Burke, the world-weary nightclub hostess who provides solace to Montgomery Clift's tormented soldier. It was a role simmering with disillusionment and grit, a stunning departure that proved her dramatic range. It won her the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress. She had reached the summit. Yet it was her role as Mary Hatch Bailey in Frank Capra's 1946 masterpiece, It's a Wonderful Life, that would define her for eternity. As the steadfast, loving wife who anchors George Bailey to his own precious existence, she became more than an actress. She became a symbol of family, community, and the profound importance of a life dedicated to others. This image would be amplified to an almost unimaginable degree in 1958, when she embarked on the project that would make her a household name for a new generation, The Donna Reed Show. For 8 seasons and 275 episodes, she was Donna Stone, the idealized American wife and mother, always poised, always wise, dispensing gentle wisdom and perfectly baked cookies with equal aplomb. The show was a colossal success, a joint venture between Donna and her husband, the ambitious and savvy producer Tony Owen. Together, they built a television empire from the foundation of their own family values. But here is the central paradox of Donna Reed's life. The more famous she became for embodying domestic perfection on a soundstage, the more fiercely she craved a genuine, private, and imperfect domestic reality of her own. The Donna Stone character was her job, being a wife to Tony and a mother to their 4 children. Penny, Tony Jr., Timothy, and Mary was her life's work. The television house was a set. It was lines on a page and marks on the floor. She needed a real home, a place not for performance but for living. And on that corner lot in Beverly Hills, she and Tony built their testament to that need. The choice of property was in itself a declaration of intent. In an era when many stars were building sprawling, ostentatious estates in the canyons or behind towering gates, the Owens chose a corner lot in a neighborhood known for its elegance rather than its extravagance. Construction finished in the mid-1950s, a home designed not by a celebrity architect seeking to make a statement, but by the family's own vision of what a home should be. And their most significant choice was the material itself, brick. In the sun-drenched, stucco-clad landscape of Southern California, a full brick house was a rarity. Brick speaks a different language. It speaks of permanence, of tradition, of institutions and old money. It felt more East Coast than West Coast. It felt solid, grounded, unflappable. It was a clear echo of her Midwestern sensibilities, a piece of the heartland's stability transported to the land of dreams. Let us begin our tour where any visitor would, at the curb. The house doesn't loom or intimidate. It sits gracefully, set back from the street by a rolling expanse of immaculate green lawn. A gentle curving walkway guides you to the front door, flanked by rose bushes that Donna herself was known to prune. The entrance is formal but not forbidding. It suggests a family that values privacy but is not afraid to welcome friends. It was designed to be the backdrop for a life, not the main event. The front door opens, and you are not in a cavernous marble-floored rotunda designed to awe visitors. You are in a foyer, a human-scaled, welcoming space. Perhaps a beautiful wooden table sits in the center, holding a vase of fresh flowers from the garden. The flooring is likely polished hardwood, warm underfoot, its patina deepened by decades of footsteps, the excited patter of children, the confident stride of a Hollywood power couple, the slower, more deliberate steps of later years. From here, let us turn into the formal living room. This was the public face of the family's private life. It was a room of sophisticated comfort, at its heart a grand fireplace, the symbolic center of any true home. It's easy to picture the family gathered here on Christmas Eve, the fire casting a warm glow, the scene an almost perfect, real-life echo of the sentimental beauty of It's a Wonderful Life. The furniture would have been traditional, upholstered in rich fabrics, chosen for comfort as much as for style. It was a room for adult conversation, for entertaining close friends like Jimmy Stewart and his wife Gloria, or her television husband, Carl Betts. It was a space for quiet evenings with Tony, discussing scripts, studio politics, and the future of their production company. It was elegant, yes, but it was a lived-in elegance, free of the coldness of a museum piece. But this room was still a performance, albeit a private one. To find the unfiltered Donna Reed, the woman behind the icon, we must go deeper into the house. Let's walk down the hall, past the formal dining room, and open the door to the den. This was her room. The den was her sanctuary and her command center. The first thing you would notice are the books. Floor-to-ceiling bookshelves crammed not with color-coordinated props, but with well-read volumes on history, politics, and art. This room immediately dispelled any notion that Donna Reed was merely the simple housewife she portrayed. She was a lifelong learner, a woman with a voracious intellect and a deep curiosity about the world beyond Hollywood. And there, nestled amongst the leather-bound classics and contemporary novels, sat her golden Oscar. Its placement was a profound statement. It wasn't spotlit on the mantelpiece or enshrined in a glass case. It was simply there, a part of the intellectual furniture of her life. Its casual placement seemed to say, yes, I achieved this, it is part of my story, but it does not define me any more than this volume of Shakespeare or that biography of Lincoln. It was in this den, surrounded by the great thinkers of history, that Donna Reed's third act began. As the 1960s bled into the 70s, and the Vietnam War tore at the fabric of the nation, the girl who once wrote letters to soldiers found her conscience stirred once more. She couldn't remain silent. She became a prominent and passionate anti-war activist, co-founding the influential advocacy group, Another Mother for Peace. Imagine the scene. America's most beloved television mother, sitting in this very den, not planning a PTA bake sale, but strategizing with fellow activists. The phone calls, the letters to congressmen, the planning of peaceful protests, all originating from this quiet book-lined room. The group's famous slogan, "War is not healthy for children and other living things," was a perfect distillation of her philosophy, a mother's fierce protective instinct scaled up to a global stage. The den, therefore, was not a retreat from the world, but her private portal for engaging with it, on her own terms, fighting for the values she held dear. This was the Donna Reed the public never knew, and this room was her sanctum. There is no space in the house that stands in starker contrast to her public persona. On the Donna Reed Show, the Stone family kitchen was a marvel of television artifice. It was spacious, impeccably clean, and technologically perfect. Appliances gleamed, countertops were forever clear, and Donna Stone herself often seemed to prepare entire meals without smudging her makeup or wrinkling her pristine dress. The real kitchen on Carmelina Avenue was its glorious, chaotic opposite. Her daughter, Marianne Owen, has spoken lovingly of this space. It was the true hub of the home, a place of constant activity and wonderful smells. Donna was a masterful cook, not just a capable one. Her Italian spaghetti sauce was legendary, a day-long affair that filled the entire house with the aroma of simmering tomatoes, garlic, and herbs. And here is the image that shatters the celluloid myth forever. She almost never wore shoes in the house. Picture it. The woman who defined televised elegance for a generation, barefoot in her own kitchen, a wooden spoon in her hand, the floor likely dusted with flour, maybe a few drops of sauce here and there. This wasn't a performance of domesticity for the cameras. It was the joyful, messy, authentic act of feeding the people she loved. It was a kitchen where children did their homework, at the table where the phone rang off the hook, where life, in all its unscripted glory, happened. It was the Iowa farm girl expressing her love through the most fundamental of acts, nourishment. This kitchen was not a stage, it was a workshop of love. The home's design brilliantly integrated the outdoors. French doors would have opened from the family room onto a large patio, which gave way to that expansive green lawn and the quintessential icon of a Southern California childhood, the swimming pool. This backyard was the family's private playground, shielded from public view by tall hedges and mature trees. This was where the 4 Owen children grew up, where their shouts and laughter were the daily soundtrack. It was the setting for birthday parties, for lazy summer afternoons, for a normal, privileged but grounded childhood that Donna and Tony fought so hard to provide. Friends who were invited into this inner circle consistently remarked on the atmosphere. It wasn't the tense, guarded environment of a celebrity compound. It was relaxed, open, welcoming. You could be yourself here. The house and its gardens were a decompression chamber from the pressures of Hollywood. It was a space designed for pleasure and peace, not for posturing. There were no hidden tunnels or panic rooms. The only thing the house concealed was its own profound normalcy, a secret it kept in plain sight. Donna's husband, Tony Owen, passed away in 1974. The house, which had been the symbol of their partnership, now became her sole anchor. She later found happiness again, marrying Grover Asmus, a retired United States Army colonel, in 1977. The house adapted, as good houses do. It embraced this new chapter, its walls holding the memory of past grief and the comfort of new companionship. It saw her children grow into adults, marry, and have children of their own. It transformed into a grandmother's house, its rooms once again filled with the sounds of a new generation. Donna Reed passed away from pancreatic cancer in January of 1986, just shy of her 65th birthday. For 3 decades, this brick house on Carmelina Avenue had been her silent, steadfast companion. It had been her canvas, her fortress, and her witness. It watched her raise a family, win an Oscar, build a television empire, and fight for peace. It held the echoes of 1,000,000 ordinary moments that, woven together, constituted an extraordinary life. After her passing, the home was eventually sold. Its contents, the tangible pieces of her life, were cataloged and auctioned. New families have since lived within its walls, creating their own memories, their own histories. But the essence of its first and most famous resident surely remains. It lingers in the integrity of the solid brick facade. You can feel it in the logic of a floor plan designed for family connection, not social climbing. You can sense it in the memory of the light that once poured into a kitchen where a world-famous woman stood barefoot, making dinner for her family. The story of Donna Reed's final home is not, in the end, a story about real estate. It's a profound lesson in authenticity. It's about the radical choice to build a life of quiet substance in the loudest, most superficial town on earth. The house at 107 South Carmelina Avenue is a monument, not to Donna Reed the star, but to Donna Belle Mullenger, the girl from Iowa. The girl who understood, with an instinct born of the heartland, that the most important legacy you can build is not one of fame or fortune, but one of love, integrity, and the deep, abiding comfort of coming home. And that's all for today's video. Don't forget to leave a like, comment your thoughts, and subscribe so you'll always be in the loop. Thanks for watching.